and welcome to a new episode of the Fond Pod, the Fondcast. It's friends occasionally not disagreeing. It's the podcast that steals your girl with dark, seductive music, forcing you to listen to it too, just so you can understand her. But then you realize it's actually amazing. And you're in a cult. I'm Brett, here tonight with special guest host Miranda, my wife. We're here tonight to talk about, we're doing a deep dive into the band Sleep Token and their latest album release, Even in Arcadia, which just came out May 9th. And when I say deep, I mean we're going right in there. As in we're going to be talking about it a lot. But before that, just a little, our usual what's new with us section. We last week went to the Lantern Festival at John Ball Zoo in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's now become a yearly kind of tradition for us. It's our third straight year going. Another enjoyable year. It definitely was very fun. The lanterns were great again. We especially did not like the advertising ones. There seems to be a growing trend that they have lanterns that show their advertisements for local companies. But it is what it is. Any thoughts on the Lantern Festival?
Well, at least if they would have put the Meyer cart by the fruit and vegetable part of the Lantern Festival, that would have made more sense. But
that's a good point, yeah.
And I don't know what they're going to do for Bissell, but at least I think it was Bissell.
Yeah, good bad. But another good year. I'm sure we'll go back probably next year again until the kids get old enough that they start hating going on trips with us. So, but in things we've been watching lately, just this last week, they released the 4th volume of the show Love, Death, and Robots, which is one of our favorites. And we binged through that in like 2 nights, but the episodes are only like 5 to 10 minutes generally, so it's not hard to binge through those. But I really enjoyed this volume again. It's just the subjects that they come up with are so quirky and so varied from like one episode to the next. Like you never know what you're going to get. It's just a really fun show for me. I know you enjoy it as well, I believe.
Yeah, and you never know who you're going to get starring in the episodes either. There was a couple of...
Yeah, who did we have this? Actually, I forgot now already.
I forgot too, but it was the episode with the advertising. Like she had...
Oh, yeah.
She had... Was it a tumor on her brain?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Is that the right show? Is that what I'm thinking of?
That might have been Black Mirror.
Oh, no. Well,
I'm not sure. But Love, Death, and Robots, if that's the show you've enjoyed in the past, you could go check that out again because they have a new volume out. And
I'm pretty sure I slept through most of those episodes. But yeah.
So let's get into the topic because we have a lot to go over here. At the time of recording this, album has been out for about 2 weeks. So we've had a pretty good amount of time to digest this. It's not like it just came out last night and we've only heard it once or twice and we're just kind of going off initial thoughts here. We've been able to really kind of let it seep in and get to all the details of it. But and we should point out kind of right off the bat here that like the two of us are relatively new to the band, like time wise. I know I first heard them just a little over a year ago. 2 of my friends, Lolly and Ryan, were talking about them and essentially asked me to listen to a song and settle a debate they were having over it. And that was the first time I'd heard anything from them. I really didn't look into it much more after that. I kind of just was like, okay, that was a song, and I moved on. And that was like maybe like a month or so later, maybe even less than that. I know you put some of the music on for me and like asked me to listen to it. And we've pretty much been listening just steady since then. Is there anything you want to add just about like how you discover their music? Because I don't know that I ever really asked you that, or just your first impressions or anything.
I think you did ask me, and I said, like, I didn't want to disclose where I heard. You're like, oh, that's the band that Lolly likes, and I'm like, yeah. So listen to it. And my first impressions of them was it was just different from anything that I had heard before. So that's why I like them.
Yeah. Kind of thing. It just kind of catches your ear because you're like, wait, that's not the normal stuff on the radio.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't see how we can really talk about this album without going into a fair amount of detail on the band itself, because they are a very unique band as far as I'm concerned. So they were formed in London about in 2016. Their members have remained anonymous by wearing masks for all shows and all other kind of media things that they've done, which is very few, other than like promotional images. They, to my knowledge, have only done 2 interviews in the last 9 years, and both of those were like very early on in their bandhood. And in addition to the masks, members are simply known as vessels, as in Vessel 1, Vessel 2, etc. To make it clear for like media and whatnot, the lead singer has kind of come to be known simply as Vessel, while the drummer is 2, bassist is 3, and the lead guitarist is 4. And I've seen it, described best that they're really only kind of like 2 core members of the band who really provide creative input in songs, and that being Vessel, who is the vast majority of it, to my knowledge, and then 2 has some amount of creative input, but it's really not clear because they don't do interviews. So it's really kind of all guessing, or some things that like their producers or whatnot have let slip about how the band functions. But outside of those 2 and the bassist and guitarist who they have on tours, they also have a trio of backup singers, essentially, who are known as Espera, or Espera. Not certain which way that's meant to be said, but they are collectively have a name. And they just do backing vocals on tour. One thing that is really kind of stands out, and we just kind of I talked about a bit in that how their unique sound is, they're just like very incredibly difficult to categorize. So like their musical styles on not only the album but like within a single song, the genres can range like widely. They have styles ranging from hard rock and metal, which I kind of say is like their primary component. I would say that nearly all songs have some form of hard rock or metal woven into them, but not all. But I mean, it goes into like indie pop rock, electronica, hip hop. I mean, I've heard elements of like trap and jazz, among other things, which we'll talk about a bit here on this album. And there's even like hints and elements they use, like religious hymns in some of their music, like just the way songs are structured, the harmonies and whatnot. And there even some songs just straight up have pipe organs, like you'd hear straight right out of church. So I've really always kind of been very impressed at how many details are put into their music. There's just so many layers and like little things, sounds, a lot of ambiance kind of going on in the background. If you have any thoughts on any of this stuff, just jump in and just...
No, I'm enjoying listening to you talk.
Because I do have a fair bit of exposition on this here.
Right.
So, I saw a quote from their original, I think it was their original manager, who said that they originally approached him with an idea for like new music, which they described as Sam Smith vocals over Meshuggah style metal. which I kind of think fits fairly accurate, like on their early stuff. I think like since then they've evolved into kind of they've figured out what works and they've kind of made it their own thing. But I mean, I think that kind of thought process still holds true mostly. You definitely have very like I don't know what the word to use there right now is, but like the vocals are very like melodic and kind of not throaty, just kind of like I don't know. I don't
You want me to
right
talk
now.
about his voice?
if you have words to use that aren't just silence like I have at the moment.
They take my words right away from me. I don't know. I think vocally he is very good. I don't know why they get so much hate, because I mean, it's a lot of people either really love Sleep Token or really hate Sleep Token. And with how many different kinds of, music they put into, blend into their own sound, it's constantly changing. No two songs, well, I mean, I guess I disagree with this statement, but no two songs are the same unless you're talking about repeating, like there's songs album-wise from previous albums that sound or piggyback off of for this album.
Songs that mirror each other, both in like tones and lyric, like themes.
Right.
Yeah. And also like visually, the members are all kind of cloaked, wear masks, like have a cult like
body paint.
Body paint, that's true.
We're not going to talk about his body.
I mean, I'm not going to talk about his body. If you have thoughts on that, feel free to
not with my husband listening.
To let the world know. And so their main like the logo for the band is made up of a number of Futhark runes, which Futhark being the oldest runic alphabet known to man. It was originated in like Germanic, Nordic, that region of the world. So to kind of get into the history a bit more here, so they self-released a 3-track EP in 2016 titled One. In 2017, they followed that with another 3-track EP titled Two, appropriately enough. After which came 3 full-length albums, starting with Sundowning in 2019, This Place Will Become Your Tomb released in 2021, and Take Me Back to Eden came out 2023. And those 3 together have kind of come to be known amongst the fandom as the Trilogy of Trauma, as they kind of seem to be, they form like a continuous journey of like a person passing through kind of stages of trauma and grief. It's like one continuous story really through 3 albums. And that brings us up to the current album, the current date. But that doesn't end the backstory of the band, because there is a whole lot of lore that goes into this, and we really can't talk about the band without going into the lore behind them. So I mean, you've heard of the like concept albums, where the entire album is dedicated to telling like a cohesive story or like evoking specific feelings, trying to do something more than just be a collection of songs. Well, Sleep Token is a concept band. Everything about them is built to kind of weave this very detailed story, which is like an alternate universe almost. Whether it's meant to be here in our world, which doesn't seem possible based on things we've seen, which we'll get into some of that a little bit in just a little bit here, but and we can't we can't possibly cover the entire lore of the music here, because not in just one podcast and do it justice, because there's so much out there, and we could be here just for hours just talking about that alone. But it's worth doing our best to kind of at least give it a Cliff's Notes version, because honestly, it's one of the things about Sleep Token that keeps me invested in the band beyond just listening to the music itself. So going back to 2017, Sleep Token's then label Basic Records published a description of the band which read, "A band that goes above and beyond simply writing and playing music. Sleep Token are said to be the mortal representatives of the ancient deity known as Sleep. Led by the masked and cloaked figure appointed Vessel, who is the master creator behind the music." Soon after that, Vessel expanded on the lore of the band himself, stating, "We are here to serve Sleep and project his message." Which I had assumed that Sleep was a female character this whole time, but he was straight from Vessel himself, says his Sleep is a he project his message. When asked about Sleep, he stated that he is everywhere at all times. The story goes that Vessel encountered Sleep in a dream with promise of glory and magnificence if Vessel followed him and projected Sleep's words through music, thus making each track a Sleep token. So the lyrics are, like, in turns, kind of coming from both Vessel and Sleep, and it's rarely clear who is speaking at that moment. And that's the very basics of the lore. There's way more out there to find, including endless fan theories regarding specific songs and lyrics and things to find. But like I say, we can't go over much more of that right here and now. They also have put out a graphic novel through Sumerian Comics titled Teeth of God, which you, Miranda, bought recently for us to look at and read through. It is out of print, and I don't think they expect to make more copies of it in print anytime soon. So we bought a digital version of it and enjoyed looking through that. But the book kind of lays out the early days of the lore, like the origins of how the lore came to be. And what's interesting is that if you kind of piece it together with the music that we've gotten so far, it really feels like the book takes place kind of like during the album Sundowning, and then the end of the graphic novel is like the start of the album This Place Will Become Your Tomb. That seems how it kind of fits into the timeline and lore. And just continuing with that visual media a little bit, the band has created like a ton of iconography to go hand in hand with their music. Just for example, like every single song from Take Me Back to Eden was released with an image of a character, like a hand-sketched kind of thing. And like something you'd see out like in like an ancient text almost. Is really kind of strange, kind of grotesque kind of looking figures. I think they're meant to be like the gods of this world. Is that how you take that to be?
Yeah, especially with this newest album and the videos that they've put out, and we'll get more into that too with the glitches and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I would agree.
Yeah. So, very, very interesting band. Just like I say, the concept of it is really pretty cool. And I mean, that was a lot of info dump from me. So let's start talking with Miranda a bit, with a segment called 5 Burning Questions with Miranda.
Ew.
I'm going to give you the high heat right off the bat with this one. So, I got 5 questions for you. There are no right answers. Just say whatever feels right to you, and we'll go on to the next. We don't even have to explain your answer. We'll just move on.
All right.
Question number 1. There are 10 songs on this album. How many of those have made you cry?
2?
Oh, wow.
Maybe?
Dang. Guess I'm the sensitive one here. Okay. Question number 2. On a scale of 1 to...
Wait, I have to take my answer back.
Okay.
We'll say 2, but one, an additional one that was just excitement. It was an excitement cry.
Okay. That counts.
Like, it was good.
All right. So amended to 3.
Yeah, like when you eat a dinner and it's so tasty that it just brings a tear to your eye.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like full on tears. I'm like, if your eyes get kind of wet, get moist.
Okay.
You know, moist beyond what they're supposed to be. That kind of thing. Question number 2. On a scale of 1 to 100%, how much do you believe that the sleep lore is real? It's not just an act.
There's an actual sleep god?
There's a god name. There's this entity named Sleep, and Vessel is actually projecting his thoughts.
Well, now that you asked that question, I have to say that there's some percentage because they are very, very popular. He is making a lot of money. It's one of those sell your soul to the devil situations. Did you expect me to answer anything but 0? Was there a 0 or was it just 1 to 100?
I gave you a range of 1 to 100, so you couldn't even answer 0.
Oh, jeez. You said there were no wrong answers. I think Vessel is, he's got to be touched by God somehow.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it's sleep. That's.
Okay, so what's your number? Is it 1 then?
Well, 1 is the least, so I guess 1. Maybe, you know what? Benefit of the doubt, I'll give him a 5. 5%.
Okay. I like it. Okay. Question number 3. You're trying to convince a friend to listen to Sleep Token. Which song are you picking? Any song from the entire library.
I did this actually at work. I was talking about. I don't know. We're going to see Sleep Token in concert, and I was voicing my frustration and utter despair that we were not able to score it for where we live in our state. And I wanted to explain why I was so completely devastated. And I thought the best way to do that would be to play the songs of, from them, and then they would fall in love with them too. And that's not how it happens. People are like, oh yeah, this is good. And they don't really mean it. They just give you that look like, yeah. But then again, I don't feel like I look like someone who listens to this kind of music. So people are always kind of like surprised.
Yeah.
Someone once said I look like I listen to Justin Bieber.
Ouch.
I know, wow. Right? And it was actually the same person that I introduced the Sleep Token song to.
Did they realize they were insulting you, or?
I think I just stood there with my mouth agape and was like, what?
So did you give an actual song? I think you did. You didn't say a song.
I didn't, but I think the song I played was Take Me Back to Eden, because it has a special place in my heart. Or it was Aquaregia, or however you say that. Because that one is also one of my favorite songs. So yeah. But with Take Me Back to Eden, not to get too lengthy into this answer, but I feel like that song has 3 parts. And what part do you introduce to someone? You basically just have to say, hey, suffer with me through this 8-minute song. I know you want to bail, but just keep going. It gets better and pulls you in. And yeah,
that's I would agree that that's a good example of a song to give someone, because it has like 3 or 4 different genres just in one song.
It feels like that. I don't know if that's the case, but it feels like there's many of their songs feel like there is different like themes that they're going for, or they want you to feel different things, or their music's just completely different, and you start the song one way and you end the song a different way. And it makes it also hard to memorize what the song names are for me, because I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Because you can't say, oh, yeah, that track goes like this.
Yeah. That's the one that's, jazzy.
It changes like 3 times.
Yeah.
No, question number 4. If you had to sacrifice either all of Sleep Token's music or all other music combined, which would you sacrifice? As in you wouldn't listen to it anymore.
I don't like this question. I don't listen to there's a lot of bad music out there. I might be
That's
doing
what
the world a favor.
That's a great way to think about it. I like
Yeah.
that answer.
Not to sound, not to toot my own horn, but I, rid the world of bad music just by... No, I think I would... I'm sure there's great stuff out there, but I'm really into Sleep Token, so I think I would probably get rid of every... But then I'd have to get rid of all... Well, okay, no. Hear me out. Because Sleep Token has so many different types of music, I was like, oh, but classical music and jazz music, I really enjoy these. It's all in there.
That's true.
They're all encompassing. So as long as they still can do it,
They
we'll
can do
still
everything.
yeah.
So that works.
Yeah.
Question number 5.
That sounds very fangirl of me. I don't know if I like that.
You're out doing karaoke and they only have Sleep Token songs. Which song are you belting out?
Is there a select all?
Select
All of the above.
In a row.
In chronological order. Oh my gosh. From the new album or just all?
Whatever song.
I'm gonna turn this question to you. I'm gonna ask you the same question while I figure out my song because I know what it is, but I don't know what it is.
Fair enough. For me, it would come down to a matter of songs that I guess I think that I could actually handle. Songs that I think my voice fits, and that wouldn't break as I'm singing it. I think I could handle Even in Arcadia pretty well.
Mine would be Bloodsport from The Room Below, that version, or Atlantic.
Okay.
But I cried when I cry when I sing Atlantic, so.
That's why I wouldn't pick that
And
one.
it's kind of depressing for karaoke night, but
That
I have
that
been
would
known to get kicked
Yeah.
off of karaoke because I do the same song.
Atlantic
so.
would end the whole night.
Yeah, everybody would be so sad.
Would just be weeping in their beer.
This is depressing. We gotta go. More
than they normally weep in their beer. All right, that's been 5 burning questions with Miranda. For our next segment, Miranda's going to be performing Bloodsport live right here on the podcast. So when you're ready,
it's very yelly.
It is a bit yelly, yeah. Let's go to another fun segment here we want to do called The Best and Worst Lyrics on the Album. Because Sleep Token is a band that it has some really interesting lyrics. In part simply due to the story that they're telling. Just makes some very interesting things that you don't normally hear in music. But more than that, I mean, Vessel, I believe, is a very gifted songwriter. I've seen some very contrary things out there, even just today in some research I was doing. People who don't appreciate what they're doing, but yeah, they use some very cool phrasing and just metaphors, and like the sentence structuring is sometimes just really interesting and feels very, very smart.
He comes across as very educated in music and timing and the words he chooses and the themes that he chooses. Like, there's a lot of scientific things that he kind of incorporates into his music, into his lyrics. And I think
science and like mythology.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple of things on this album we'll probably talk about here in a little bit that like you have to like do scientific research to understand what this song is about because
right. I feel like I've never been smarter than trying to unfold all of Sleep Token's meanings in their lyrics.
Yeah. So if you're someone who like appreciates good lyrics, I think this is definitely a good band to take a look at least give them a try. So we're going to have a little fun here and give our 3 favorite lyrics from this album specifically, as well as our 1 least favorite, because they're not all great. Most of them are, but not all. So I think what we'll do here, just to kind of make it even more kind of like a little game, is what we'll do is we'll do a little countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then say the song which the lyric comes from.
For
then,
my favorite?
And then we'll go for let's do our 3rd favorite first and finish with first, our best lyric. So, are you prepared?
I am prepared. It's not the last 2 aren't in order.
Oh, that's okay. As long as you have 1 to use.
Yes.
So 3, 2, 1.
Emergence.
Damocles. Okay. I'll go first here. So from Damocles, the lyric that I really like out of this goes, and it feels like falling into the sea from outer space in seconds to me. And I play discordant days on repeat until they look like harmony. And that to me, it's kind of special for me, just in the thought behind it. It's not necessarily a lyric that has like real like deep. You don't have to think hard to understand what he's saying. You know, sometimes there's lyrics where you're like, holy moly, what does that mean? But this isn't one of those. This is like pretty straightforward, but the words used, discordant days, just like he is like lingering on just random days that have been in your past and like piecing them together till it makes sense in your head. It's a really cool lyric. So from Emergence.
You should read them.
I should read.
I feel like I'm gonna want to half sing it, but you have good pacing without having to use your singing voice, so I'll just show it to you.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So I'll read it.
Start at so.
Okay. So tell me what you meant by living past your half-life, in lockstep with the universe, and you're well-versed in the afterlife. You know that I'm sanctified by what's below, no matter what you do, no matter where you go. Is that as far as you want to go?
Yes.
I thought so. Okay.
You should narrate books for a living.
I don't know if I could do that fully, but I've been told I have a great podcast voice, for what that's worth. Just not a podcast face. Yes, I love that one as well. So, moving on to the second best lyric from the album. Ready?
Sure.
In 3, 2, 1.
Look
Dangerous.
to windward.
Okay. Nothing matching yet. From Dangerous, the line is, and I am caught in time, like clockwork beneath the permafrost. I might lose my mind, back to back with oblivion, and you might breathe that burning breeze through paradise for me. I really like the imagery on this one. It like sets an idea, like caught in time, and then hits you with clockwork beneath permafrost, which is a wild thought. We get back to back with oblivion.
Does that have to does that stand for like frozen in time?
Well, yeah, I think like literally like imagine like a clock
right under
buried
permafrost.
underneath frozen ground.
Yeah.
The idea of like back to back with oblivion, like you and oblivion are like protecting each other.
Oh, I guess I never looked at it that way before.
Is like a wow kind of thought. And then that last line, you might breathe that burning breeze through paradise for me. It's just really, like every other
the
word.
sexiest lyric.
Every other word is rhymed, which is kind of cool.
Because that was one of the ones that, I mean, I love this album lyrically so very much, but yeah, that was that's probably the sexiest lyric in the entire album. And you picked it. What does that say about you?
You're number 2 from Look to Windward.
It's verse 6, and you can read as much as you want, because honestly, it's my favorite lyrics are chunks of lyrics and the delivery.
Okay, so starting from the top here and just as far as I feel like I should go?
Yeah.
Okay. Even in this garden of gardens, I am the god of the gaps. I am the demon of Sodom. I am the blood of an angel. The fate of the fallen, nobody knows where I came from. Even I have forgotten. How could I already lose my way like this? Drowning in burning bright abyss. Even at stratospheric depths, this vertigo of bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Love that one. Yes.
Oh, Lordy. We're coming up on the other one. My favorite.
Yep. We're on to the favorite. We'll do the worst lyric last. Are you prepared?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
In 3, 2, 1.
Even
Provider.
in Arcadia.
Oh. Okay. I'm anxious to hear which one you pick. So from Provider, about halfway into the song, it goes into like a breakdown. And the lyrics go like this. Our bodies converse like old friends. And then you get 4 entire seconds of silence. So you just sit on that thought. No music, just sitting on that lyric. Then exchanging the years in silence with something unsaid on both ends. 4 more seconds of silence to marinate on that, which I like that line is just great. Like, just being able to, like, so much is said.
Also a sexy one, sort of.
And then it's like with something unsaid on both ends, you're like, wait, what's unsaid? There's no clue to like what is the unsaid bit. And then after
unrequited love, or well, I guess unrequited is unreturned love, but
probably, but
that's sad.
And then after those 4 seconds, surely we know the difference. And you're like, what's the difference?
So many questions.
I have so many questions. And then you get 3 more full seconds of nothing to like let that like sit on you. And then you get the drums come in like a timer, like tick, tick, tick. And then it like hits you with
yes, I know what part you're yes. I know what part you're
maybe the heaviest segment of music on the entire album. And it's
people
like
would argue with that Infinite Baths has.
Yeah, that's arguable. But to really to get like too poetic into this, but it's like you get these lines and it eats at you, and you're like it's and then like it punches you right in the chest with
That's
this
true.
music. And it's, for me, it's like, it might be my single favorite moment on the entire album.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
I've said previously that the ending to Caramel is the best moment on the album, but the more I've listened to this, the more it's like, it's right there, right there.
Before we get into my lyric, I do want to say that with this album, every time I listen to it, I feel something different. I made sure the first time I listened to it in order. And then Spotify, I refuse to pay for. And they they like to give me songs put in not in order and with other songs mixed in there. So, but it changes every single time I listen to it. And Provider, I did not. We'll get into that more, but I I think it's interesting that that's one of your favorite lyrics and possibly your favorite part of the album. Because you know how I feel about that song.
Yes, I do.
But I'll let to say, like, when I was listening to it today, I was like, this is a really good song. When
So
I don't, it's like converting me. And I don't like that because you know how I feel about the song. But my favorite lyric.
Yes. From Even in Arcadia.
Verse 2. In your sexy voice.
In my sexy voice.
You gotta deepen it and give it some razzle dazzle.
I am the final dawn. I am the flood. And what was missing from those scriptures will be written in my blood. Dig down into the mud. What good is all this talk of wings when there's nothing left above?
I want to say that is probably, without completely going through every single lyric of every song, like the best lore lyric.
Yes.
For me in the entire album.
Yeah. Like that. If you have seen the Teeth of God graphic novel, like that is straight up, like that is the lore right
They're
there.
in mud.
Yeah.
And that might not even be what he means by it, but
no,
you never know.
Yeah. That was fun. So now our worst lyrics. So this probably will be even more fun. So
I'm pretty sure you already know.
I do. I think know yours, but let's go through the exercise anyways and let everybody else know. In 3, 2, 1.
Provider.
Damocles. Yes. So Damocles has my third favorite lyric and also my least favorite lyric, and that being we'll dig more into this in a little bit here, but the lyric goes, "Well, I know I should be touring. I know these chords are boring, but I can't always be killing the game." You don't have to say it, though. Like, you literally could say anything else and keep that internal, but here it is in the song. It's weird.
Begs the question, does a lyric out of place, or because you get kind of lost in the songs and you're like, oh, this is great, this is a story, and then he puts stuff in there that takes you out of it, which I don't know how we're supposed to feel when we listen to them, but there's a couple songs where it's like I had to, because I ranked my songs based on lyrics, music, and lore. And if you put something that's too this worldly or takes you back to reality, I couldn't mark it very high in the lore category because it. But I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I would
sorry, I remembered.
Go ahead.
Like it takes does a bad lyric ruin the song?
Right. Yeah, that was the thought you were in. Yeah. That's fair because especially with the way that Sleep Token has set up all their songs, where you're expecting everything to be not something relatable. Well, no, that's not true at all. Because all the lyrics are very relatable.
You can take them different ways.
Yeah, you can take them as something that fits your life exactly. But there's enough of it to suggest that it's something completely outside of your life as well. But there are lyrics on this album that cannot be taken any other way than he's talking about the real world, the real boring world where there aren't God's names sleep and moon tentacles and
right. Yeah, I mean, it kind of just takes you out of that world for a moment, and they're so good at writing songs that, like you said, can be taken a lot of different ways. It can be relationship, like he's talking about a romantic relationship that didn't work, or, feeling bad about himself, or depression. There's one that people have said talks about possible drug use or suicide attempt or something like that. And it can be taken, I hate to compare them to Taylor Swift, but, you know, there's people who spend a lot of time dissecting every single little thing that they say and do, and have all these thoughts about their songs, when it could just be him talking about his ex-girlfriend.
It's possible.
But, I mean, it's in that they leave it up to interpretation. They never come right out, just like Taylor Swift. Sorry for the mention. But, you know, they never come out and say, this is what this is about.
Yeah.
And actually, I think publicly he came out and said, I don't want it to be obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know exactly what words he used, but that's the impression I got was, you know.
Yeah.
They're not going to
pinpoint it. You're not
it.
meant to understand it any one particular way. Yeah.
You want my lyric?
Yes, I do. Yes, I know what it is, but go ahead and give it, because this one actually is pretty good.
To providers' credit, okay, I don't dislike the song. It's because there's a really good the chorus, and your fingers foxtrot on my skin. I'm going under this time. That is amazing, and yes. I will scream that at the top of my lungs when I'm singing and feel like it's just awesome. But again, just one little line ruin it. Let you be the judge of that. But right, you know which one it is.
I do know. Let me read it for you though. Let's see, where does it start here?
I think it starts with "cuz."
Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll just start with that one. So it goes, "'Cause you've been hitting my phone so hard. I found it breathing through a tube in the ICU."
And then he rhymes it with ICU. Like, I see you.
It is one of the more ridiculous lyrics I've heard in a song. In the fact that
phones can't breathe.
Phones can't breathe, and they wouldn't be admitted to the ICU. So that alone makes it ridiculous. But that it comes in kind of like in the middle of this other song that has all these other ideas behind it.
I think it's clever.
It's clever, but it also is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. There's just no way around that. I honestly, for as crazy as that, just the imagery is,
it's memorable.
Melodic, that's not the word. Melodic isn't the right word, but that bit of the song, the way that he sings it, is actually really darn good.
It is.
The line, if you're not paying attention to the words and just listening to the way it sounds, is amazing.
Right.
But the line itself is ridiculous.
Yeah, once you catch on, you're like, oh. Honorable mention for Damocles has one of, I don't know if I should just wait for the song, us recapping the song, but since we're talking about lyrics.
Yeah, go ahead.
When he says, if only Damocles would hit me back.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Does it mean on the phone?
Probably.
Are you talking about, like, really? You're waiting for him to return your call?
In our day, I mean, that's the only way to really take that. But, so yeah, there's two lines
well,
in
it could
that
be,
song.
like, physically hit me back, but I don't know.
It could be.
It could be. That runs in the same vein for me. Just, like, really?
Yeah. So.
But then he delivers amazing, thought-provoking, lyrics, and you're like, how does this come out of that?
Yeah. It's interesting, like, why everything else is one way, and then there's this one line that doesn't seem to fit. Like, I'd love to be able to ask questions of him, like, why are you doing that when you haven't in the past? Like, why are you kind of breaking the lore in the middle of this song, like breaking the fourth wall, like Deadpool or something? Like,
It depends on what song you're talking about lyrically. But I think, because they're not, like, other albums aren't perfect either. Like, again, I guess if we're talking about lyrics, there's ones where he mentions cigarette ashes, clinging to clothes, you know, and I'm like, man. But he talks about, I mean, oh gosh, which one is that? Is it Nazareth? There's stuff that doesn't quite fit there either. Lyrically with the lore, it just seems a little different, you know?
Well, let's move on because we do have a bunch of stuff to talk about yet. So it's something that I am kind of like dying to talk about because it honestly is like something I've never experienced quite like this before, and that's the timeline of events leading up to the album release. And there's a lot here, so I'm gonna try and get through it quickly, without, but still letting you like understand what's going on here. So, February 19th, the band released their first ever TikTok video, which was only a simple looped animation, with this kind of like haunting music, like almost like coming like from a music box behind it. Nothing else in the video, but the text in the description of the video directed people to the website showmehowtodanceforever.com. And so like at this point, to my knowledge, there hadn't been any news about an upcoming album. Like I there probably were people that were like, well, it's been a couple years. I hope they're making more music, but I don't think there was any like knowledge of music coming out.
There was actually news to the contrary because they got doxxed. I think that's how you say that. And they deleted everything on their social media. Right. Yeah. So they were thinking, and I think they had tweeted, posted something about,
they had X'd.
What?
They had X'd. They're not tweets anymore.
Is that what we call it now?
Well, we just call it garbage.
Garbage. It is garbage. Yeah. I don't know what format they released it on, but they said like all good things come to an end or something like that, and people were really panicked.
Yeah, they're like they thinking that they're just going to hang it up because they got outed, right? More or less. Right. So we get this like very cryptic video, pointing to a website. Now, this website displayed, when you went there, there were a number of like randomized letters on the screen, which you could kind of click on, and then it would arrange them in order, and like in the order that you clicked on them. So it wouldn't put them in the right spot. The letters consisted of 3 V's, 2 O's, as well as A, M, D, S, and U, which it really could not be assembled in any way that would make actual words, to my knowledge. So after people played around with that for a while, somebody went in and looked at the source code of the website. In the source code was an ASCII image of an archway, like an ASCII image, like when you take different symbols and letters from a computer and you can use it to create an image, so along with that archway were coordinates, like literal coordinates. And when looked at, when you went to those coordinates on Google Earth, whatever, they pointed to Shepherd's Monument, which is within the grounds of Shugborough Hall, which is a famous estate in England. Shepherd's Monument itself has its own mystery attached to it. It's been theorized that it may even indicate the location of the Holy Grail, but that's an entirely different podcast on its own. On the face of the monument are the very same set of letters which form the puzzle on the website, thus giving people the key to unlock it, because they're in order across the face of the monument, essentially. And it's like a Latin thing also, but it's like a mystery on its own, but we're not going to do that. Once the letters were put into the right order, a new page opened where you could give your email to sign up for future news. We then received emails giving us a choice between 2 images. One image had crossed swords on a green background, and the other was a feather or quill on a beige background. No other information was given as to what they represented or what the choice even meant. Selecting one of those sent you another email giving you more information on your selection. If you had picked the swords, you received an email that stated, "Gather House Viridian," and then said, "The house must endure." If you picked the quill, it said, "Gather Feathered Host. The cycle must end." To this day, we still don't know what these houses mean. And it kind of like is the biggest thing remaining that really makes me want to know like what is going on with this, because it's like just crazy. Like it's nothing like who does this in music? You know, this is
which one did you choose?
I picked House Viridia.
Wrong choice.
Well, we just still don't know if it is or not. On February 27th, so that's I don't forget the timeline here. Basically, 1 week later, the band created 2 separate Instagram accounts for the 2 houses and began posting to both of them essentially simultaneously. The first posts to each group were sheet music, which, when played, hinted at new music that it had written. Those posts were followed with an animation of a black flamingo in a garden of red and pink pastel-colored foliage.
He has names.
He does?
Yeah. I don't remember any of them. The Sleep Token fandom, I'm pretty sure at one point, I think it was like Phil or Frank.
Oh, right, yeah. They like made up a name, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not official. No.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. The third post to both accounts were an image containing Morse code. On March 6th, post went out that allowed us to pre-save something on Spotify. We didn't know what. Spotify and Apple Music, you could pre-save something. And I think like this was the first time we, among other people, started getting confident that it was an album. Because, I mean, what are you going to save on Spotify, really? You know, it's music. There's music coming. Is it a single or is it a full album? You know, I kind of lean towards album, but still at that point we didn't know. Around this time, it was discovered that the Morse code posts provided coordinates to locations near the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. At those physical coordinates, people found QR codes, which led to new images. They combined those images to give us the word emergence. This is when things started getting serious for us, at least, because like I remember kind of like realizing what was going on and like literally felt cold. Like my blood went cold when I like was like, oh my God, this is happening.
Like that we were getting a song or that we were getting an album or
I haven't described it yet. But so like just a few weeks to get extra context, like just a couple of weeks before this, we were talking about going and seeing Sleep Token at the Louder Than Life Festival this year because they were on the ticket for a single day. And we're like, they don't come to the US. This might be the only chance we get to see them in our lives because we don't know if they're going to make more music.
Right.
They've kind of like given us maybe some thoughts that maybe they're going to stop making music. And this might be the last show they do in the US. And we ended up deciding that it was too expensive and not the experience we wanted. So we decided not to get those tickets. And we were kind of like we were kind of bummed out at that point because we're like, ugh, I mean, we just can't.
I cried.
Yeah. But starting on March 10th, 6 music venues across the U.S. changed their social media profile pictures to either House Viridian or Feathered Host artwork. And that's the moment where I was like, oh frick. This is something now.
I remember when you told me, you were like, oh, I think they're coming. I think they're coming.
Yeah. Kind of simultaneously, billboards started popping up around the U.S. and eventually more music venues changed their pictures, including our own Detroit venue. March 12th saw a new post teasing a date and time with no other information attached to it, just a date and time. And that timer ended March 13th at 8 a.m. Eastern. where they simultaneously released the first single, Emergence, on Spotify and Apple, as well as sent out emails confirming the album release date, which included a U.S. tour schedule. The website also very quickly changed to have the schedule and a new merch section on it. And I mean, really, that isn't even the whole story of this release, because there was so many little oddities and clues and puzzles and things. Like, that's not even all of it. But
can you imagine being the one, like, the brainchild behind all of it? I mean, if he doesn't have a whole team researching and planting and, you know, how much in the secrecy that you have to be like, hey, this venue, change your Instagram or whatever to this picture at this time precisely. And coordinate all that, but also put the QR code, and you're bringing together so many different types of people who know music and can play music, people who know how do you do where they saw the archway? What is that called?
The ASCII code.
Yeah, is that like you'd have to know coding or computer or what?
You just need to be able to create a picture using random, like.
But like, who would know that?
But,
I mean, I would never look at this and go, "Oh, I need to find the source code."
All these little things just seem so different from each other and like odd. Yeah, the coordination effort to release this is astounding. Like, how much went into this. Coming back to the tour, I did manage to snag us tickets for the Chicago show, not our Detroit show, which is a long and stressful story on its own, which we don't. I already kind of related that story at a previous podcast. But yeah, we have tickets for Chicago, September. That's should be very exciting. But yeah, everything leading up to this album release was really magical. Like,
it was.
Yeah, really crazy. It's like, you know, we watched the show Lost and enjoyed that quite a bit. And that's what this felt like. It was like there was always something weird and interesting happening. And there's no answers. And you're like, what the hell's going on? Like, this is just craziness every day.
Right.
But all that said, let's get actually into the album finally. So we let's get in this. So we'll do a track by track, kind of giving our thoughts on each. At the end, we'll give a full album rating. Now this album only has 10 tracks, which is a little bit interesting. It probably doesn't really mean anything, but their last three albums all had exactly 12 tracks. And it felt like there was a reason there was 12. And this one only had 10, and I don't know if that means anything or not, but yeah, it does have like a playtime of almost 57 minutes, so it's not a short album by any stretch of the imagination. But track 1, titled Look to Windward, I'll go ahead and give some thoughts here first. I really love how it kind of like sets this almost eerie tone to start it. And we get this line, will you halt this eclipse in me, kind of like on repeat, like several times, not just through the start of the song, but also later on. But then it like kind of out of nowhere almost like launches into this like really heavy riff and like screaming. That moment was really cool. Like, it was like, okay, here we go. This is, you know, we're into this now. And there's like a lot of like orchestral sounds built into that bit of the song as well, like right before that. Any thoughts you have on that yet?
I think it was a great start. I cried because this was the one I cried of excitement. Yeah. I was listening, you know, doing my walk on the treadmill, had my earbuds in, and as soon as it got to the part where he starts saying me, isn't that when he does like the pause? Yeah, he does. Will you halt this eclipse in? Yes. And then he waits, and then he, you know, kind of screams it.
Yep.
And it's not like a low-toned scream. It's like, it's almost demonic sounding.
Yeah.
And as soon as like everything hit, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I wanted to pause it and come like, because we were listening to it at the same time.
Yeah. So fun part of the story too is we, the morning it released, well, it like released while we were sleeping. So we had to wait till morning to listen to it. And we actually woke up early before our normal morning time to get ready for work. And the way we experienced it was we each listened to it on our separate devices, but we pushed play at the same time. So we were listening in sync, but in different rooms of the house doing our own things, getting ready.
Yeah, so I wanted to pause it and come running and be like, oh my God, wasn't that so good? And then I'm like, no, just let it go. Just keep listening. And I really enjoy, I don't know if you can consider it rap, but I like, that's one of my favorite lyrics is the, even in this Garden of Gardens.
Right, yep.
That's where it kind of changes up, and it feels very, start of your journey, and this is, you're going for a ride, and it's not a song that changes a lot during it. I feel like it's like one whole cohesive unit, whereas there's songs that I feel like there's three things spliced together, and you're kind of not knowing, the song is a journey itself, but this kind of set the mood for me.
Mm. Yeah, that's one thing there's like segments they go into where I don't know if it's best to describe it as just fast singing or if it's actually just should be described as rapping. It's almost like kind of somewhere in between. But I almost always enjoy those segments of
He's
the
the hip-hop-opotamus. His lyrics are bottomless.
He is that. He sure is. This song just also has just some really cool kind of imagery just built into the lyrics. There is, I do want to bring up the fact that, and I don't think I've noticed it on previous albums, but it feels like this album has a lot of like drum track, like pre-recorded stuff that's just playing in the background.
Well, it's all pre-recorded because it's pre-recorded on an album. They're not doing it live.
What?
It's not a little vessel in your ear singing to you. I hate to break it to you.
Fuck. Oh.
Now on sale, pocket vessel. You keep him in your pocket and he'll serenade you when you're feeling down.
You could sell those like hotcakes.
I'd have two. One for me, one for you. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to make a joke, but
yeah. Those little bits of the music, I don't like that they're there. I kind of understand it because it's kind of just two guys making this music, to my understanding.
Well, and I think they said that he plays I don't know anything about instruments really, but he plays like the drum kit.
Yeah.
So
he does keyboards. Yeah. Vessel does keyboards.
No. Like the drummer actually does the drum. Some of it's not like a drum track. It's like him playing, but it doesn't sound like drums.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it was one of the songs that you had mentioned before that you were like, it sounds like it's just a drum kit. Here we go. Like a track or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised that he was actually playing it. It was something he created. Not just pressing a button.
I want to point out too, like, right about 4 minutes into the song, there's like the music gets quiet and there's like some speech. It's definitely speech, but I can't understand it. You can't understand it.
It depends on who you ask.
It depends.
Because there's some talk that it is a flamingo call, which actually, fun fact, and I don't know if it's actually fact. I have not fact-checked anything. And I guess we really wouldn't know unless Vessel himself came out and said anything, but there were flamingos on the last album.
What? That's wild. Well, now I'm going to have to listen to that again.
I think it was in Take Me Back to Eden, actually.
Okay. That feels like a good song for that to be in.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, there's like some sort of words and they're not, I can't understand. They don't seem to be English. I reversed it. It's not reversed words.
It almost sounds like a
different
male
language. I don't
like a man and a woman kind of yelling at each other.
Yeah, I'm really curious if that's going to come back to be something, or if it's just there to make us think.
Knowing his fan base, somebody will figure it out.
Yeah.
Because there's super. I mean, I'm just in awe of what these people have been able to figure out so far.
Yeah, there's some clever people out there. Yeah, people who like really dedicated to it as well. That's the main thing. Like, I don't have time for to figure this shit out.
To Reddit.
Yep, that's how I figure this stuff out. Letting everyone else do my work for me. Any other thoughts on this song? That's pretty much that.
It's solid. I like it.
It's a very. I really like the song. One of my favorites on the album, for sure. Into track 2, which is Emergence, which is the first single that we got. And I have to say, on first listen, like there were parts of the song that I kind of like recognized that I liked, but I didn't like fully get into it. But the more I listened, the more I really came to appreciate like basically the entire, like every second of the song I love. Like the more I've listened to it, the more I'm like, nah, this song is great. The verses with like the fast sung lyrics, like have this biting tone that doesn't always happen in their music. Like he has a vocal style that is often, I don't know what the word is. Like it's not, I can't even say that. Like I was going to say emotionless, but that's not true because his voice is full of like emotion. That's not, it's like under the surface emotion that you like get the sense of, but it's not actually, it's not really there in the in the voice. But all that said or unsaid, because I didn't really say anything there.
That's been me this whole podcast. Welcome to me.
These lyrics they do have a biting tone in that. It is like really good. And there's like some build up from one verse to the next. There's like these electronic tones that are like almost like techno beats. That like when I heard those, I was like, oh yeah, this is building up to something big. And the overall message of the song is really good. Like later on, it's got like a really great, like heavy musical interlude. And at the end, we get a full 60 seconds of saxophone, which...
Sexy phone.
60 seconds of sexy phone. Blue, like, I was like, where did that come from? But it feels like it fits. Like, you come out of, like, heavy metal and go straight into saxophone, like jazz. Like, it's saxophone and piano duo,
right?
And it's great. It works.
They do that though in songs. They splice in unexpected things, and I didn't know whether I liked it at first, and I still don't know. I mean, on its own, it's absolutely wonderful. Like if you just had the saxophone playing, it would be great. But every time I'm like, could they do without? Would this song still hold weight without that unexpectedness? And I like
That's
it
a good question.
as a unit, because it just gives you something, And right away I don't know if they somehow identified who played the saxophone or if she came right out and said it. I know there was like a YouTube video where she was commenting. Well, it was the Emergence video, and she was commenting on there like, "This is me."
Yeah.
And
she came out and said, "Hey, I did this bit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of things like that where, because as far as I know, Sleep Token hasn't said who their opening act is, if they're even having an opening act.
I'm guessing it's going to be just them, but who knows?
But then they were saying, hey, if it's, I can't think of her name. Is it Gabby?
Yeah,
Gabby, something
I think
like that.
Gabby something. Yeah.
And she is touring with, I don't know, I didn't write it down, but she's touring with somebody else that they were like, these are definitely going to pair up.
Yeah.
And so I did Emergence. I cried. Can I just say I cried to every song? I mean, that's not true, but I feel like I mean, it wouldn't be entirely, unheard of for me to cry at every single song. But this is the one I was in the school pickup line with my daughter because she was homesick that day. And I'm like, let's listen to this song. And I looked back and I was crying and she's like, Mom. I'm like, it's so good. And I like the message.
Yeah. My values, like, my favorite songs on the album, it's kind of like fluid. Like the more I listen, the more things kind of jumble around and stuff. But currently this is my second favorite song on the album. Very good.
It is very good.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that, I don't know if I'm using this term correctly, but syncopation.
Yes.
With the way that this song is, and it makes you feel, because it's not like on beat or the drums are off beat for the pacing of the song.
Right.
It keeps you on edge. And you kind of like, and I know a lot of people were divided on that too, whether they liked the song and the pacing and, but I think it kind of keeps your attention that way. And also I love the lyrics on this song a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't go too far into that because I don't know musical theory enough to really describe it adequately. But yes, we saw videos together of people kind of describing the syncopation and like things being out of time or like at a different pace than other segments of the music, and how it affects your brain into like not knowing what's coming next. And I would not doubt that affects different people differently.
Well, and it kind of feels like you're stumbling. You're doing a brain stumble because it's once you've heard it a couple times, it's predictable. But at first you're just like, oh, okay, wait. Oh, wait, nope, this isn't right. Wait, hold on. What am I missing here? Yeah. But yeah, this is probably I'd have to look back at my scoring, but I think this got a perfect score for me.
Dang. Nice. Okay. Ready to move for track 3?
No. What's track 3?
Past Self.
What's that one? How does that one go?
That's the poppy one.
That's the question I ask myself every single time I see the name of the song. I go, what one is that? And then I put it on and I go, oh yeah, it's Zelda.
Yes. So this is actually is something that I wasn't familiar with really, because despite being a big old gamer for 30 some odd years now, 30 math, 30.
You're only 30.
That's true. So that would be hard to be gamer for more than 30 years. But yeah, I really haven't gotten into the Zelda games a whole lot. But that said, the core beat of this song, if you match it up to the fairy fountain music from Legend of Zelda, which is, I think, in basically every single Zelda game at some point, nearly identical in structure.
It's beautiful.
The tones and pacing feel a little bit different, but the structure of the chords is almost identical, I believe. And honestly, I enjoy that they kind of experimented with that, kind of melding a video game thing into the songs. And there's other songs that have that as well.
Right. This entire album is fantasy, wind chime, music box, video game.
Yeah. I appreciate that, but overall, and it just, I've made this point to you before, but like the whole song just feels too basic pop to me. It's very different from any other song on the album. And I would say even different from basically any song they've made prior to this. Like it's kind of whimsical. It's poppy. It does not change through the entire song. Like there's no breakdown. There's no genre change. It's just this kind of whimsical boppy music throughout the entire thing. But all that said, I still sing the damn song.
I know, it is so catchy.
It's goddamn catchy.
And every time I'm like he does say, I don't know if you're like me when you love when they say the name of the song, you know, in their song while they're singing it. And he does say past self, I believe. At
least more than one. Yeah, once at least. But I think probably a few different times, if I'm not mistaken.
So this might, well, maybe not, but it might change your view on the song if you want to look into the lyrics and apply it to a potential theory or whatever you want to call it. So, and I might totally slaughter these lyrics, but crawled out of my woodwork, bolts out of my blue depths, in and out of my dreamscapes. And then, of course, there's more to that lyric, but one thing I thought of when I was listening to this, and then I went down a rabbit hole, was bolts out of my blue depths. Like, that sounds an awful lot like This Place Will Become Your Tomb.
Yes.
Because that entire album was very water-based and...
The whole album felt blue. I mean, the artwork was blue, but the music itself felt blue.
So then, of course, to Reddit, I went to the internet and was like, am I crazy? And I am not the only one who thought that. And they're thinking I kind of flip-flop them, but crawled out of my woodwork and in and out of my dreamscapes. To me, in and out of my dreamscapes kind of seemed like sundowning. But then Take Me Back to Eden, I guess the only thing I can think of with the wood portion of it would be more like you're in the woods, like in the garden.
Yeah.
But when I looked it up, they had crawled out of my woodwork as Take Me Back to Eden and in and out of my dreamscapes as sundowning. But I feel like they both fit, and they've had 3, significant albums.
Yeah.
Just something fun.
Yeah. This is the only song on the album with explicit lyrics, for what that's worth. He says shit once. Potty mouth.
And we've had this conversation before because we play the music much to the anger of my son, our son. I think he likes, we explained a lot more about Sleep Token to him because usually you'd put on a song and he'd be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And now that he knows the lore a little bit, or at least the stuff that they're coming out with,
he seems to find that very interesting.
Yeah, he does. He's a puzzle guy, but I like to play them for the kids because they don't swear.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do enough swearing that they don't need to hear it from a song.
The messaging is not like sexual or like,
I mean, I would disagree.
It's not like shot him up with a full clip, or
right? And it's not like a drop your booty to the floor kind of music.
Yeah.
But there's only one other song that I know of that they swear in it. So
okay,
this would be 2.
Yeah. Track 4 is called Dangerous. And it feels dangerous and kind of sexy.
Very sexy.
Kind of sexy.
Do you feel dangerous and sexy when you listen to it? You do.
I mean,
you shake your booty. I know it.
I may not touched myself. Not that way.
Wiping the drool off your face because you're just like, oh, this is great.
One of the first things that caught me on this song was that it has like this like dark synth in the background, like think like Stranger Things music. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, ooh, I like this. And there are some other kind of tones in this song that I don't like. And there is this another song where like the mid part of the song kind of has like just a synth track that kind of doesn't really feel interesting. It's just kind of like there. which is fine, but I don't know, like the word that comes to mind is it kind of felt cheap. Like I expected better, and it was just from that music track. Like in the mid part of the song, there was some of the music was not great, but it's like the tone of the vocals.
You need you need a palate cleanser,
right?
Not every song can be.
Yeah, like on subsequent listening to this album, I mean, I'll come back to this thought later on as well, but some tracks are meant to be one thing and some tracks are meant to be something else. And like you said, it's a bit of a palate cleanser sometimes. Like you need to switch things up so you can appreciate what's going on. And this song definitely switches things up a bit. And you know, it does. This is when it has a transition into like the end of the song it's full on hard rock.
Right.
Like it is, that part is really awesome. I love that a lot. And you know, there's another track that the more I listened to it, the more I liked and appreciated it.
Well, because isn't one of your favorite lyrics from this song?
It is, yes. My number 2. So.
My notes for this one was just, it feels like a new sound, but what you said, what'd you say about the synth? Like Stranger Things?
Like Stranger Things is like dark synth.
Dark synth.
Yeah. The dark side.
Yeah. This kind of feels, that's a good way of putting it. I put like an old school rap sound, you know, from your time.
For what?
From your time.
My time? You just said I was only 30.
But yes, I do like this one. I feel like this is, you know, and something I wanted to mention, especially in this song, I believe it's this one, they say, "Show me how to dance forever," which is
yep,
part of the lore or the buildup of the albums.
Yeah.
Because wasn't that
the name of the
website?
Yep. ShowMeHowToDanceForever.com.
And that's they have a couple different repetitive things in this album, and dancing is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That visual and like just the act of dancing comes up more than
like,
once.
"Are you going to dance on the line with me?"
Yeah, from Past Self.
And I think was there one in Look to Windward too?
I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, he really likes to dance. And I like to dance to this song.
This song has moved up into my 4th favorite on the album.
How do you rank them in those order? I could not.
Well, I have several that are like basically even in how much I like them, but I'm just saying it's 4th, essentially. Ready to move on to 5?
Sure.
Caramel. Caramel was the second single that was released, and it it starts off with these sounds that are like almost like wind chimes, and it kind of catches you a little bit off guard in that like it's a sound you're not expecting to hear out of this band necessarily. And I mean, to be honest, the first verse doesn't feel great. Like we listened to that together that morning that it came out. And I remember vividly because we kind of shared the moment of realization when he sings the chorus the first time, and we looked at each other. We shared a look and we're like, that wasn't his best lyric. It says, "Stick to me like caramel," and that's about as basic as you get for a metaphor. But it's still catchy. You know, if the lyrics aren't, you know, maybe amazing or like
this song is so catchy.
Yes, it is. Honestly, everything after that first the first verse and the first chorus is great. Like, not even close. It's just great. And the song does have, to my knowledge, the distinction of being the first song to actually break the lore, as far as I'm aware. Because literally the entire song is about his struggles of being famous and people trying to leak his identity. And several of the lines actually seem to be talking directly to the listener, or the
bad ones,
the fans,
the bad ones,
the bad fans, not the ones who are playing along with it. So it's interesting in that fact that it's like breaking the lore. That's like shattering this illusion that they're something other than just a band making music. But I do find it's a very catchy song. After that first verse, there's a lot of stuff that's basically rapping. It's really enjoyable. And I kind of mentioned earlier that it kind of goes into this, the very end of the song, the last minute or so, goes into this really heavy segment where it's a back and forth with screaming a line and then singing like this kind of like really like earnest singing, like, I really want you to understand this thing that I'm saying. But the back and forth between those two is really special for me. Like it makes me want to go out and do something destructive, on some levels, but also like I don't know. It's so good. It's probably my favorite part of the entire album.
For Caramel?
Yeah, that last minute.
Well, now I have to look what it is.
You don't remember the part? Right offhand?
The outro?
Yeah, where it's like he's screaming and then singing back and forth, like in response to the screaming.
Oh. Maybe the breakdown part.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yep, I get what you're saying. Well, and this song relates back to potentially, because you never know quite for sure what they're trying to do, but it relates back to Sugar. They changed the logo for the song Sugar to, I believe it was to the either look more like caramel or it looks exactly like caramel. I don't quite remember.
Oh, okay.
But they were saying, like, in the song Sugar, it's, sugar, I've got a taste for you kind of theme, and it could relate to fame. It's a sexy song, so I think you should give it a listen. But it could be about just fame and becoming more well-known and getting addicted to that feeling. And then, things heat up and they become caramel, and it's not always a good thing. But this is another song where he mentions dancing.
Right.
He needs to just shake his booty. And War of Attrition, which seems to be repeated throughout this album as well.
Yeah, that exact line is used at least twice. I can't think of a third time. I think it's just twice, but it's such a specific lyric to be used twice. It's obviously intentional.
That's who knows? Who knows? I would hate you get lyrics that he says, like the breathing through a tube in the ICU, okay? Or, lyrics that you're just like, why? Why did you could have written something else. You're so great at constructing these lyrics, and you get these, so the repetitive things, are they meant to be there on purpose, or
right.
Is it just...
That's how it feels to me.
Or is it just like, that was stuck in his head? Yeah. Like something that you just kept bringing up because it, I don't know.
It's the feeling that he wanted to express.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else that fits better, maybe. It could be that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you get writers too when they write books and they repeat the same phrase or they use the heck out of a certain word. And you're like, man, buy a thesaurus, But for someone who does such a great job I mean, he can't always be killing the game, so who knows?
Well played. Yeah, this is probably my third favorite song on the album, I would say. Approximately. But
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 other songs with this rating, which is the lowest.
Lowest?
It's on the lower end of the list.
Okay, but they're all tied, so it's essentially everybody's tied for third place, more or less.
Yes, it does appear. Yeah, it does appear to be that way. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Let's move on to track 6. We'll keep this moving along. Even in Arcadia, the title track. When this first comes on, like the first thing you hear is the same like music box like tones that are used in all like the teaser videos. Like every single teaser thing they had in all their posts on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else always used this music. And so when it came on, I was instantly like, oh, here we go. It's going to be something. I don't know what this is going to be, but it's going to be something. Then the piano comes in.
So good.
And I internally went, oh, fuck, I'm going to cry, aren't I? I'm going to cry. There's something in the tones of the piano. Piano on its own is really good for that, but the way it's played here and the specific tones, you know, the chord, you know, whatever, I don't know. The
notes.
Piano, yes. The notes, there we go. That's the one. Notes used. It just brings that out instantaneously. And it's just this great soulful piano melody. And then you get into the singing. And so, you know, Vessel also often like has this kind of natural pain in his voice. And I would say this is a really good example of that. Like, you feel like he's feeling something. And it's like, it's deep in his soul. Like this is like ripping out of him. You know, especially the last line where he literally like, it's like being torn out. He's not just singing. It's like,
right.
And then you get like, there's a violin segment after that. And I heard the violin. I was like, oh my God, this is like, cause not to toot my own horn, but
toot.
The music that I've crafted, via AI, which, I mean, people have their opinions on whether or not that is something I should be doing or not, because AI is everywhere now and kind of ruining some things. But legitimately, like, this is the music I like. Nearly all of the songs that I make have guitar, piano, and violin.
That's true.
Somewhere in there. And with this song in particular, the only thing that I think, like, I kind of wish that when after it hit with the violin, it kind of like swept into like some sort of bridge or breakdown where it was like full orchestral, and there was like some like kind of a vocal shift where he's like singing a bit differently, and it's kind of like this big sweeping thing. I think it would have made the song like really incredible, but also having listened to everything else, the whole album, and like there's so many other songs that do that change up what's going on. It almost feels good to have a song that is just like, this is what it is. It's one thing. Appreciate it for what it is, you know.
Right. So. I guess this is where I kind of disagree with you. I know that doesn't happen on this show very often. I'm glad it doesn't, because it ends with such a simplicity that you can, I mean, for me, this song, I listen to it and I go someplace visually. I can see things happening. And I feel like he's standing somewhere looking out over an expanse, whether that is because of the theming of the song, you know, in like, is he in a place of like in a good place, in a place of plenty, in a place of where good things are happening to him, or is he in a place of hell? Is he looking out at what's gonna happen to him? And it's just such a simple like ending to it that it's just kind of on the wind. It's carried on the wind. It's not like this big thing. It's unsettling at the end where you're not, there's like not a finality to it necessarily, but it just is simple.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I think I do. Yeah. Yeah. Cause it like I said, there's the violin and it's violin and piano and it's beautiful. And then it kind of, well, it doesn't fade out, but it kind of tapers off. It's a beautiful ending. Yeah, I have to say that. I don't think I can't go into too deep into it, but just like the meaning of the title, even in Arcadia, seems really cool and very like it fits the lore perfectly as well. It's kind of it comes from there's paintings and like it. There's like a Latin phrase et in Arcadia ego, which essentially means like even in paradise, death is there waiting for you. Essentially, really having now seen the graphic novel and kind of piecing other things together, this is very much fits the lore of the band fully. So.
When I first heard this, can I swear?
You can say almost anything you want on the show.
I put fucking breathtaking because it just hits you. And he says, have you been waiting long for me? And you're like, yes, I have. Too long, Vessel, too long. No, but it's like, it's almost when he screams at some point when he just, because there's so many times where he's singing and it's just a song, you know, it's good. There's emotion there, but it's just like, you know, not off the Richter scale. This is off the Richter scale emotion wise. There's like a part where it's almost like a battle cry. And I do like the wind chime music box, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are great, and they do play into the lore with the graphic novel.
Yeah.
Because of the digging down into the mud and everything.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, numerically is not one of my top songs, but
you're wrong.
But the fact is, I've been listening to this song more than any other song on the album over the last several days. You know, so take that for what it's worth. On to track 7, which is Provider. I did not give this song nearly enough credit on my first few listens.
It does grow on you.
Yeah. Like, I liked it, but I kind of brushed it aside and, like, I was, like, focused on other tracks. But it's really good. It's a really good song. This is one of the songs that opens up with an organ. It's like you're sitting in church.
Or a funeral.
Or a funeral.
I mean, that would be in church too, but
yeah.
You immediately think
generally.
wedding, church service, funeral.
Yeah. It is very, very rhymey, which I know you said at least once that you didn't really care for. If I could pull up some of those lyrics here, if you want to, let's see.
This song, yeah, and I didn't like it, and I feel it growing on me, especially when we were driving down to the Lantern Festival and listening to it. the "In Your Fingers, Foxtrot on My Skin."
Yes.
I love that part.
It's not only a great lyric, the way he sings it is really very cool and like moving.
And it gives depth to a song that would otherwise be just a TikTok like baby making song, because that's how it sounds. This guy's like saying to you, or whatever character it is that's singing to you is saying like, I want to take care of you and I want to be your daddy. And then he's like vulnerable and talking about like actually falling for someone or whatever.
Yeah. So just the first several lines, the last word in the line: provider, spider, rider, insider, provider, decider, desire, mine.
Like you got to come up with a different word.
But then provider, yeah, provider. So very rhymey. It works.
And
but
runner up for worst lyric or most misheard lyric. The only baddie spinning eyes in the room. Or is it bad body spitting ice in the room?
Either way.
There has been some discussion, even though there's official lyrics. So.
Yeah, even though there's official lyrics. Yeah. Like I said, on first listens, I kind of like was like, okay, good song, but I didn't really get it. But it does like halfway through the song, it does go into like this vocal shift where it like feels like a different song.
Yes.
That's where he starts using the line, fingers foxtrot on your skin.
And if they made a song based around that alone, I would have been like, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
And then took like the provider part out of it, like the sexy, I want to be your daddy part out of it.
Yeah.
But it
and
works
you know
together.
that's the bit of the song that has that my top lyric.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's so damn good, that part. Like it's like, I don't know, like I can't get away from it. It's like stuck in my head now. Just like I discussed before, just like it like it punches you in the chest, and like I don't know, it's very moving for me. Any other thoughts?
No, I think you touched on everything.
I touched it all right.
Touched it.
The song it at one point was my second least, 8 out of 10. Easier way to state that. It was like 8th out of 10.
Oh, for your ranking?
Yeah. It is now... actually, it's not much higher than that. If you're going by like out of 10, but its value is much higher now than it was before. But all the songs kind of went up as well with it. So
right.
It's still like 7th, but
I know that
I love the song.
I wasn't going to outline all of my rankings. Like I said, I ranked all the songs on their music, their lyrics, and their lore separately. And provider for music wise, not that I'm going to do this on every song, but it was one of the ones that tied for third. Music was 5 out of 5. Lyrics were 3 out of 5, and the lore was 2 out of 5. Because I just feel like I don't know.
It doesn't.
It depends on who's doing the singing too, because people say that
point.
it could be
from Sleep.
Who wants to be your daddy, Sleep or Vessel?
Either
or
way,
both.
We all win. Let's move on to track 8, Damocles. This was the third single that we received. And this was one, so like this doesn't happen very often with me, where the first time I hear a song, I know I like it. Like there's like, to clarify that, like a song, like I'll hear it and yeah, I enjoyed that, but it's like a higher level, like a level above that.
So I have a question for you, because I know how you listen to music, and you listen to the actual music and you don't always do the lyrics.
Right. I don't necessarily pay attention to the words.
I pick up on the lyrics. They make or break a song for me. And, so did you notice lyrics about this song when you first listened to it and you liked it based off that, or was it just the music?
I think there's a way that he sings this one that makes it a little bit easier to hear the words on first listen. I think I did pick up on the message very quickly. Yes. There's just like a quality to the song in general that just moves me. Like it's the same thing that makes Euclid my second favorite Sleep Token song.
This song is Euclid's big sister.
Well, then that makes a lot of sense. We kind of like self-diagnosed that one night recently, trying to figure out why this song is my second favorite out of all of Sleep Token's library. And without diving too deeply into what kind of like makes me tick, because we don't need to get in that, but basically it's because I'm a sad boy at heart. And this song is all about like living in the past, and it like touches on ideas of like self-worth. Like, are you good enough?
I do have that as one of my notes.
And
questioning your worth and your legacy and your impact.
It's like not a sad song either. Like it's actually kind of upbeat.
I feel like they do that.
It's a ballad.
With their songs, though, is they can be singing very, very sad boy things and put it in certain music, like Caramel. I dance in the kitchen to it. It feels very tropical, very, just the rhythm going. And it's not good. What he's saying is not necessarily good. He's like, hey, knock it off, people. You're trying to, you're
going to F this all up.
Right. I'm going to have to one more time and I'm going to come back there, when you're yelling at your kids in the back seat. Yeah. That's kind of what it feels like. But Damocles is one of those songs, like you said. It's a sad boy song, but you don't know how to feel about it because of the music.
Yeah, it's an upbeat ballad, and I weep every time I hear it.
It's nostalgia. That's what it feels like. And the piano, I love the piano in this one. It feels like you're running.
Yes. The way it plays with the vocals is so good. Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it necessarily, but like I wouldn't say it's the best song on the album, but it is by a fair amount my favorite. Like it is the song that I connect with the most, and that makes it the best for me.
This is one of my lore.
Even despite the weird lyrics that it has in a couple spots.
Yeah, I have 3 out of 5 for music, even though I love the piano. 4 out of 5 for lyrics, and 3 out of 5 for lore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the last note I had here was there's a segment after the last verse where it's just music, and the drums are so fucking good in that segment. Like, I know that lots of people have commented on how good the drummer is for the band.
Oh, he's amazing.
But like, just the last minute of the song is.
Did you know? I watched an interview with him. I don't know. I don't think we watched this one together. I watched an interview with him, and he said that they said, do you always stick to the music that's written? Did you hear this before?
No.
Okay. Like, do you always stick to what's written down, or do you sometimes improvise? And he said, after playing songs for so long, that there's sometimes where he revisits it and goes, you know what, this would be better. So he kind of changes it up sometimes too.
Yeah.
But they are so good in this song.
Yeah.
Even though I rated music 3 out of 5.
I'm going to just sigh over that song.
Don't cry. Don't cry. And if you weren't already crying, let's move on to song number 9.
Jesus, that song just rips your guts out. Gethsemane, track number 9. Another song I did not get enough credit on my first listens. And
sorry, I was reading my notes. Can I share them?
Yeah, go.
Fucking sad, but hopeful.
That's correct, I think. Yes. This song it's kind of weird because the whole first verse, like a large segment, like a minute or so of the first bit of the song, he's like singing in like this higher pitched tone, and it almost feels like he's like just kind of talking to himself and like almost like whispering, like it's his inner thoughts, not even like he's not even singing. It's just like those are his thoughts. And the music is very mild. Like there's not much at all going on in the music, and the vocals are kind of odd. And so it comes off the back of Damocles, which is this upbeat ballad, and goes in, and you're like, ooh, this is like the wet blanket. Who threw the wet blanket on the party? So I think like I got kind of like stuck in that thought and then didn't really pay attention to the rest of the song because it kind of moves into other stuff that on further listens I was like, wait, this is really good. And
it does stall your journey a little bit through the album.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. It also like it really helped me also when I started realizing that the reason why it is not strong musically is because you're supposed to be listening to the dang words. Like,
right.
And once I started paying attention to the lyrics more, I was like, holy fuck. Like, what? Well, that's so every other line like punches you right in the guts. It's very, very powerful and lyrically.
Right, and just what it represents.
Yeah. I don't know which thought to go with next, but it does like the latter half of the song is definitely much more upbeat and catchy. It goes away from those kind of falsetto tones and mild music. And there's actually like, I'm trying to remember, there is like a heavier section in this one as well. Like later on in the song, it gets very metal.
Right.
At the end. But
the guitar.
Yeah. I mean, this is, like I say, this one, the score-wise, increased quite a bit. The more I've listened to it. It's still technically, lower on the album for me, but has a good score. See,
and I rated this song, I feel like this should be a song that has a lot of lore to it, just based on the name, because that's where Jesus Christ underwent the agony in the garden, according to Wikipedia, that is.
Yeah.
And it feels like, he was basically talking to himself with the theme of torture, torturing himself. And it was it's sad. It's basically saying, like, like he's recounting things to himself and kind of, who knows if the other person is listening, but basically saying like, hey, you know, one of the things is, you know, we were trying our best and sometimes things don't work out. Yeah. You know, wasn't the lyric, what might be good for your heart or is not good for my head, or whatever it is.
Exactly. What might be good for your heart might not be good for my head.
Yeah. And I'm proud of him for this. If you think of it in the way of just things in his past, if we're talking about Vessel and not necessarily the lore, because I feel like the song title lends itself to the lore, but I mean, I don't know. I tend to think that a lot of this is about past relationships that he was in. That's just my impression of the songs, and that it has less to do with the lore in that respect, but it feels like he's coming to terms with things that happened in the past. So I'm proud of him, and it's hopeful in that way. But it's not my favorite song, that's for sure.
Mm.
He sings very soft.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, like I say, it's not catchy. The latter half has catchy bits, but it's not really a catchy song. It's not a musically important song. Message-wise, it feels very important, but yeah, not one of the. I can't rate it very highly on the album because musically, it's not quite there.
And I think too, like, is this another transition song? Because you have Damocles, very is Damocles the one I said that reminds me of Cheers, the Cheers intro?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Because you're going, like, even just working your way down the song, you're like, okay, you know, and you get to Damocles and it's like, do, and then Gethsemane comes on and you're like, oof. But then you go into Infinite Baths, which is very, you know, softer at first. So is this kind of the easing into that after Damocles?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then. So on to track 10, Infinite Baths. The first verse in this song does sound a bit like it's a bit more upbeat. It's a bit more catchy. I like the vocals, the way they kind of play a bit. It feels like it's kind of building up to something. However, the chorus itself, I do have problems with it because it feels kind of like vocally weak. Just because he sings the title directly. It's Infinite Baths. Right offhand, I don't remember the rest.
Washing over me at last.
Yeah. I mean, I don't enjoy the way it's sung necessarily.
Like, it reminds me of a hymn, like a church hymn.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to just be like I don't think it's supposed to be like definite when he's saying stuff. I think it's supposed to kind of all melt. It feels like a melt. Like something's washing over you.
Mm. I think it doesn't help it either that the fact that it comes behind Gethsemane, which was another kind of mellow song. Like it's like another mellow song right away. It definitely, the more I listen to it, the more I got it and, you know, enjoy it. But I just can't get into that chorus. Like the chorus should be like the biggest, best part of the song, generally speaking. And for me, it's like the weakest part of the song. And that's kind of a problem. You had a thought?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts about this song.
Yes.
Well, no, I enjoy the song. I feel like it's one of those songs that have multiple parts to it. And I don't know if you were going to talk about the loop, so I won't talk too much about that. But there are parts I really, really enjoy in this song. There are lyrics that he says that I'm just like, it's very memorable for me. But I do like that he says infinite baths, bursting colors when you laugh. And I think that
That's a really cool
visually
line.
is just super cool.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. I don't know if that's what this song is supposed to do. Because when you read the lyrics, you're like, ugh, I don't know. But it's almost like a sound bath, a sound wave, just kind of, doing its thing. And then when he gets into the drift with me, the bridge.
Yep.
When he does that, that part, you feel like you're getting carried away. You feel like you're doing something. It's so peaceful. It's just like, calm before the storm, because then the music goes in a completely different direction.
It sure does.
You can talk about that.
Yeah. So, the ending of this song, it kind of goes into this kind of lulling you into a sleepy, like the drift with me section is kind of like takes you away. It's kind of, whatever. And then it hits you with like really heavy metal, and like full on screaming lyrics, which, generally I like his method of screaming lyrics. In this song, I can't understand, without the lyric sheet in front of me, I can't understand what he's saying in any of these.
I don't think you're supposed to.
Maybe you're just supposed to feel it.
I think you're supposed to feel it and then research it.
Oh, no, maybe, yeah.
Like when he's screaming and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. So the ending of the song, it does get very interesting for a couple different reasons. The first thing I'll mention is, so he's continuing the screaming of the lyrics, and those specific lyrics at the very end are teeth of God, blood of man, I will be what I am. And I mean, I can't help but assume that this is meant to be Sleep speaking at this point. And for me, having gone through the Teeth of God graphic novel and kind of diving into some of the other lore, it feels to me like this line is a declaration of war from Sleep.
The graphic novel definitely put things in a different light. Because often you wonder, is every little thing that is said, every sound that is hidden in the background, every symbol, because, a lot of the symbols we found in the graphic novel too of the albums and stuff like that.
Imagery from the albums is in the novel.
So you can't help but think that there are no mistakes, that everything is intentional.
It's all calculated.
But then, is that true?
Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention, because I had this thought and then researched it and then found that it had already been put on there, one of the lyric pages, is that infinite baths relate to quantum physics, which he talks about a lot. Different things. In this album, in Emergence, he talks about, red glass on my light bulb, sapphire on my white gold, carbon on my nano, and there's a lot of people, if you just look that up, there's a lot of people who deep dive into that, but infinite baths not only does it deal with quantum physics, but they say here, wash over vessel like a purifying flood, breaking down the old self in the same way a quantum system decoheres when immersed in an infinite reservoir. Yet, rather than destruction, the result is renewal. Frozen becomes fluid, pain gives way to color, and silence is replaced with movement. I think it sounds like surrender. I think he surrenders and something happens.
Yeah.
Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And then there's a lot of duality with how peaceful and resolute and just, and then you get sucker punched with him screaming and probably, I don't know what you said you thought the heaviest part of the album is, but definitely Infinite Baths is the end of that is.
Yeah, it's probably this. Yeah. I also had kind of a thought that came in late to the party that this moment also could be Vessel ascending to something above human.
And then he's yelling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that thought too.
Yeah.
And no one halted the eclipse in him.
Yeah.
So this is one of my middle rated songs. Dangerous and Infinite Baths are the only two songs. No, wait. Yeah, I think so. Dangerous for sure. Infinite Baths, and then look to Windward. They're all tied for second.
Okay. But yeah, the very ending of that song, I did want to talk about that because it's odd, and it's also leaves you feeling not good about. So, I'll just go in and describe it right away. So, after the screaming bit, after the last vocal is sung, there is about a minute of essentially a loop. Like it's the same. The structural word is failing me right now, but the same set of chords, and it just keeps repeating for like a minute. It doesn't change up really the musical tone of it at all.
Should we have put a disclaimer on this podcast that we know absolutely nothing about music?
I mean, we're already here. Anybody who's listening to this is probably like, these dumb.
If you've come this far, we are so sorry.
I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. Someone who does know more about this than me is my friend Lolly, who I mentioned previously, who has actual has musical knowledge, like how to properly construct songs. And I talked to her about this, and she said that this is not how you construct a song. The ending of a song should not be constructed this way. Like, people just don't do it, especially the closing song on an album. And there's also something about a closing song on a vinyl album, which went over my head a bit. But like I said, there's a minute of a repeating chord set. Then there's 30 seconds where it does switch it up slightly. And then there's 30 seconds where it takes 30 seconds to fade out the song. And that's all just looped music as well, essentially, or repeated music, not looped, but repeated music. And it feels so wrong for a song to end that way. And like, I caught that like immediately. I was like, the ending of that song is weird. It's just weird. But there's talk about what that means, because that he knows that songs aren't supposed to be written that way. And we'll kind of come back to that thought momentarily. So that is the album. Let's go into, I do want to talk about where this album sits before we give our final ratings. I keep saying rankings instead of ratings.
It's because I started it.
It's because you did it. This song currently critic reception is definitely mixed on this. I see some really great scores. I see some really not great scores, including a 2.3 out of 10 from Pitchfork, whatever the fuck Pitchfork is. Apparently it's an American online music magazine. They hate this album. Sputnik Music hates this album.
They're wrong.
But a lot of other places love this album. So it also currently is, I'm just going to read off the list of places where it is the number one album on the charts currently. Including in the U.S. Billboard 200, it is the top album. That's not just hard rock. That's top overall. It is the top U.S. top rock and alternative album. UK rock and metal, UK albums, Scottish albums, New Zealand, German, Dutch, Canadian, Belgium, Austrian, and Australian. They're right next to each other, so I got those mixed up. But it is the number one album in all those places. And it's second, third, fifth, fourth, and other ones here that I have on this list. It is basically all the way around the world the number one album in the world right now.
Do you think the more that he suffers, like with the more famous he gets,
that he suffers more?
Yeah, like, you write an album that has several nods to how miserable you are and how, fame has changed. And look what happened.
Yeah.
You became even more famous than you were before.
I do think it will be interesting as to how the music changes going forward now that they are at this very moment the best band, the top band in the world. You could say with being number one in all those places. It's kind of humorous to me because we've done a couple segments on this podcast where we do an album exchange where we a few of us pick an album to share with our friends who have not heard it before. And I had thought, well, I'm going to use Take Me Back to Eden at some point when we do the next one, because people don't know what this band is. I want to share with them. Everyone knows now. It's not something new to share anymore. So, I mean, it still is for people. It's not like everyone in the world knows them,
right?
But they're blowing up right now. So, all that said,
and we're so sorry about it.
We're sorry about what?
That it's getting so popular.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like you're like, yay, you're getting acknowledged for all these great things that you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm so sorry about your personal life.
Yeah.
And that you're clearly struggling here, but give us more.
Yeah. 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 So we'll come back to a couple more thoughts here in just a moment, but let's go ahead and give our overall ratings. I'm not going to be verbose on this. We've been talking about this for 2 hours already, and I've said about as much as I could say, but this album for me, especially the more I've listened to it, I've really come to appreciate it. I could not count how many times I've listened to it in the last 2 weeks, but it is daily. It is sometimes more than once daily.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I've got an hour commute, and it's an hour long,
that's
and that's
true.
an hour long album. So, it's pretty easy for me to listen to it multiple times a day. But I'm not slowing down. I'm going to keep listening to this for a while yet.
What's your ranking?
My overall rating on this album.
Rating.
I'm giving this a 9.25 out of 10.
It was out of 10?
Out of 10.
Oh, boy.
Is yours out of 5?
It's out of 5.
You just have to double the number.
It's easy for you to say. Oh no, I gotta write it out
Oh,
now.
maths.
Okay.
Look out,
hold on.
maths.
I will say, while I'm figuring this out, that it is one of those albums that get better with every re-listen. Like, there's songs where
Absolutely.
I don't like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to this one. And then I'm like, you know, this is actually really good.
On my first listen, I probably would have given this about a 7.5.
That's why
Because
I'm not.
a couple of the songs really kind of pulled it down for me to start.
I'm not surprised that some people, you know, have poor thoughts about it, because at first I was like, do I really like this? Like, it's kind of a departure in some areas from their normal
It's different from the
formula.
last few albums.
And yeah. For me, well, okay, so put it in perspective a little bit. I have no idea how to rate things, not rank them, rate them. And so I had to go back through and rate Take Me Back to Eden for,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So Take Me Back to Eden was a 8.56
Okay.
out of 10.
Gotcha.
And even in Arcadia came up as an 8, which I think is fair.
Okay.
Because I have way more. So I have 1, 2, 3 songs that are 5 out of 5 from Take Me Back to Eden. I have only 2, and I mean, they have more. They have 12 songs on Take Me Back to Eden, so there were more opportunities for success or failure. There's only 2 songs that have a perfect 5 out of 5 from Even in Arcadia. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's still a good score. I didn't write that. What was your number? You said
8.56.
That was Take Me Back to Eden, though?
Oh, that was Take Me Back to Eden, yes.
This
8.
is
8 out of
okay.
10 for Even in Arcadia.
8 and 9.25. So we're averaging out to about 8 and 8.63, if my math in my head is correct.
Some of my favorite songs ever in the entire world are on Take Me Back to Eden, though. So I don't know that it would...
It'd be hard to beat that.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's our thoughts on the album there. Just another kind of side on that. Like I said, the more I listened to it, the more I enjoyed it. So I definitely, if you're going to give this album a try, give it more than 1.
Right.
And then if a song, make sure you're paying attention to the lyrics at some point, not just the music.
Right.
But yeah.
I do have 2 questions for you. You did a Q&A for me, and I have 2 questions for you.
Oh, okay.
Which might actually segue into something else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But we were talking about Take Me Back to Eden, and my question is, how do you feel that Even in Arcadia compares to Take Me Back to Eden as a title track?
Ooh. Fun question. Wow. Because those like 2 titans duking it out.
Exactly.
Ooh. Very different songs tonally.
And Take Me Back to Eden is changes up like 3 times ish.
Yeah, it's constructed very differently.
Even in Arcadia is kind of more just powerful at one route of attack, I guess.
Yeah. Good way to put it. Wow. I mean, I probably would slightly give the edge to Take Me Back to Eden, because that's probably the song that I would say, hey, if you're trying to get into Sleep Token as a band, check out this song. Because there's so much there. There's like just a variety,
showcases
and
their
the
talent.
lyricism is really good, and the musically it's firing on all cylinders. It's really good. So I probably would get the edge to that, but it's close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question, last question. Do you think that this is all we're getting for music, or is there a second album or part to it?
Yes.
Like, are we going to get more songs or something?
So before I answer that, a couple of things. There's a couple other things that I would love to talk about, but I mean, we're almost at 2.5 hours here, so I will not go deeply into that. But there have been.
How far do we have to make it a two-parter?
Until we say cut it into 2 sections. I don't know. There's no rule for that, but there have been some post-album release shenanigans. Included in those are the videos for each song. And this is on YouTube because like videos on Spotify are just short loops. They don't, it's not a full video. If you watch the videos on YouTube, I think it's probably like every song. Is it every song? I actually don't know that I've verified this.
They have a video? Yeah, they have. So they have, and I don't want to cut into what you're saying, but they have a video where it is a background and a burning banner.
Yeah, they're all
for
very
most
similar.
of them, if not all of them. Are you going to mention
I was going to talk about the glitches.
Oh.
Does every video have a glitch?
No, not every video has a glitch, and it seems like sometimes, so they put out these teasers on YouTube, and then I believe replaced the teaser. It would be like just the music chiming in the beginning and maybe like slight little video, and replaced them when they actually came out with the songs. And I think, wasn't it you that said that now Damocles, because that's like the white, is that the video with the white building and the banner being burned?
Yeah.
And now it's further away.
Yeah, it's like zoomed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and talk about the glitches real quick.
If it's not every video for every song, it's basically all of them. It's just like a basic, it's like a loop, an animation more or less, where it's just a video, like there's a background, there's like this kind of like a utopia kind of looking thing. There's lots of the pink floral stuff. There's a burning banner that like burns from like essentially burns completely up by the end of the song. At the end, or basically at the end of every video, there are glitched frames where the video looks like it glitches out, and what you're seeing changes briefly. And if you pause on those glitches, you get some really interesting imagery there, because they basically all involve people with weapons like swords and axes and whatnot fighting
something monsters,
some sort of monster, demon,
and they're in armor.
God. Yeah, it's like medieval armor and weaponry fighting some creatures in this, what the same kind of utopia setting is now burning and destruction all over. It's a battle. There's war going on, and it's just these glitches hidden at the ends of these videos.
So far I found Emergence, Caramel, even in Arcadia.
Yeah,
and there might be even more than that. So
we've got those. We also have shenanigans with lyrics, where the lyrics on Spotify and Apple, since the album released, some of those songs have had their lyrics edited. Mm-hmm. To where, for example, the entire lyric sheet is all lowercase letters, except for a few capitalized letters in weird places that, when you put those letters together, make words, which we are familiar with. For example, the house must endure, or the cycle must end.
Which it wasn't Spotify and Apple. They were both different.
Yes. Like you had to know, you had to share your information if you were a Spotify user or an Apple user. You had to share your information with the other side to get the full story.
Right.
And one of those phrases that came out of these letters that people decided, they put it together. They said, this says the battle continues. Then the band themselves made a post with it's like the imagery, and that's all it says in the post. The battle continues.
And it's a guy standing in armor.
Yep. And I know there's been a lot of talk about possibly a hidden second album coming.
Right. I know I told you right away when I saw it, but the thing that was on the imagery that was on The Battle Continues was from The Glitch.
Right.
So they were basically
tied in.
Yeah, they were taking something that was hidden and basically saying like, hey, this wasn't a mistake and it wasn't just like a cute little thing. Like,
yeah, it
boom.
meant something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of hopeful people for that. Whether or not I think it's going to actually be a double album, I'm probably less than 50% sure on that. I think maybe it's just hinting towards future albums, which, as we stated earlier, we thought this might be the last album ever.
Right.
And then we get this at the end and we're like, it might be a double.
Right.
At the very least, there's more on the way.
Well, and they signed with, was it Sony? They just signed with a new record company, or is it RCA? I don't
honestly,
even know.
We should know that, but
they signed with a new record company, so they will have at least have 3 more albums or 3 total albums. I'm not sure, but wouldn't that be a great way to hit your quota? It's releasing a double, and I hate, I keep comparing to Taylor Swift, but it kind of felt like that, where you listen to the album and you're like, this is it. And I remember getting to the end song and the end of the end song, and I'm like, what? This doesn't feel right. There has to be more. And I look down, nope, that's it. But every time I listen to it, it feels more and more complete. Especially if you listen to it, with just going on the journey of what he's doing. It kind of feels like that was the end, but maybe it'll be a song.
Yeah,
just one
extra track
song
or something. Yeah, who knows? But either way, just the weirdness, the crazy things surrounding this band continue, and I love it. So I think we have
sufficiently made people bored.
We've by now, everyone who was listening has already stopped, because and so that we've met our goal. Good job. No, this has been a really fun discussion. I mean, I hope if you've been listening to this, I hope you've really enjoyed it too. I think this band is something special. I think the music's not for everyone. Despite, so there's this, they do so much that I think like anybody, literally anyone, could find something to like with them. But that doesn't mean that just because you like the jazz parts of their songs, when the heavy metal hits, you're going to go,
yeah,
I'm out, So, I mean, it's not for everyone. But 2025 is the year of Sleep Token for me. It feels like, I'm not 30. But like at this midlife point of my life, like this is like it's like a transformative point in my life.
Right.
It's like, this is how much this band is like infecting me.
Well, I know when we talked about concerts and how I basically was saying I'm going over to England wherever they're going to be.
Yeah, I was going to send you over there because you needed to listen to this band.
We are flying over there. And there's very few groups that I feel that way about that I would actually, I mean, I love concerts. I love listening to music. But there are very few bands that I would do that with. And one is Muse and the other is Sleep Token. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty telling, I guess.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think it's time that we got. I easily could continue talking about this for a lot longer, but it's a podcast. It's a single episode, not a series. So we have to end it here at some point, and we're going to do that now. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. If you are not a fan of the band, maybe give them a shot, and maybe
get bent.
Get bent. Yells, yeah, something or something. And I'm Brett. I've been here with my wife Miranda here tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I don't know what we have coming up next. I know I think the next thing on the schedule is probably the new Mission Impossible movie review. So look for that to come out. But my wife's making a face. But
is Tom Cruise in that one?
Yeah, he sure is. He didn't die yet. He's been trying to die in those movies, but he hasn't done it yet. So, anyways, this has been the Fond Pod, the Fondcast. It's friends occasionally not disagreeing, and we will see you all next time.